These are the 12 forgotten one-hit R&B wonders of 1975, and they deserve your ears again. Faith, Hope, and Charity made us believe in love on the dance floor. Major Harris gave us one of the smoothest slow burns ever pressed to wax. Number 12, Boogie Fever by the Sylvers, the disco itch that went viral.
Join us to the latest single on Capitol entitled Boogie Fever. Let's get it together one more time, gang, for the Sylvers.
Released on Capitol Records, Boogie Fever dropped just as disco fever was starting to grip the nation. The Sylvers, a family group from Watts, LA, blended R&B harmonies with a glittery groove that felt like a Saturday night in sequence. The track hit #1 on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the R&B chart in early '76. But its roots were planted in late 1975, when roller rinks were packed and afros were wide. Ironically, despite this explosive start, the Sylvers never landed another crossover hit of this magnitude. You can almost see the mirrored ball spinning as you hear the whispery, "I got the boogie fever" chant. It was campy, catchy, and contagious in the best way. The Sylvers went on to influence early New Jack Swing with their family-based harmonies, but Boogie Fever remains their one unforgettable moment in the mainstream disco spotlight. If disco was the party, this was the invitation. Number 11, We Belong Together by the Spinners featuring Dionne Warwick, the duet we didn't know we needed.
We've had all the chances, you and I.
This soulful stunner dropped during the Spinners' prime but featured a twist. Dionne Warwick stepping in for her only collab with the group.
The moment I wake up, before
Released on Atlantic Records in 1975, the track never made it to top 10 territory.
Let's start our love anew.
Overshadowed by hits like Games People Play. But its gentle groove, lush string arrangement, and emotional duet vocals make it a forgotten gem. The real twist? Dionne and the Spinners were never in the studio together. Her vocals were dubbed in later. Still, the chemistry feels electric. Play this one, and you'll feel like you're slow dancing at a family reunion. The summer air thick with Motown memories and Carolina cookout smoke. While it didn't blaze up the charts, this one-hit pairing created a vibe that still sounds timeless and reminds us how rare these kinds of studio accidents can be. If that duet whispered longing, our next track screams joy. Number 10, Babyface by Wing in a prayer fife and drum corps. Marching band soul with a disco beat. Yes, that's their real name. And yes, they took an old 1926 standard and turned it into a funk-laced disco banger.
you got the cutest little baby face. You got the cutest little.
Led by producer Harold Wheeler, this studio band dropped Babyface in '75, and suddenly America was clapping along to a marching band take on Tin Pan Alley. It hit number 14 on the R&B charts and had a surprising Hot 100 run. It was quirky, it was kitschy, but it worked.
Baby, you got the cutest little baby face.
Horns blasted, drums rolled, and beneath it all, that infectious beat made it impossible to sit still. Picture this. Bell bottoms bouncing on the gymnasium floor, Soul Train dancers cracking up as they tried to stay on beat.
Cutest little baby face. You got the cutest little.
That was the vibe. They never charted again, but they didn't need to. This one hit turned heads, raised eyebrows, and most importantly, moved feet. And if you thought that was unexpected, wait until you hear the next slow jam. Number 9, Love Won't Let Me Wait by Major Harris, the slow jam that dared to get steamy.
Because of his latest single on Atlantic entitled Love Won't Let Me Wait, as he joins us for the first time as a solo performer, let's get some hands together, gang, for Mr. Major Harris.
Released in 1975 on Atlantic Records, Major Harris, once a member of the Delphonics, stepped out solo and straight into bedroom R&B history. This sensual ballad hit number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100.
I need your love so desperately.
And number 1 on the R&B chart. But Major Harris never repeated the magic again. Backed by lush strings and a quiet storm rhythm, the real draw was Harris's spoken word intro, whispered like a lover in the dark. This was the kind of track you played when the lights dimmed and the candles flickered. You can practically smell the incense and slow simmering collard greens. It was intimate, bold, and unashamedly sensual. Though his solo career cooled, this single became a staple of late-night quiet storm radio and still sends chills down the spine of anyone who remembers that look on the dance floor. If that was slow fire, our next track was lightning in a gospel bottle. Number 8, To Each His Own by Faith, Hope, and Charity, disco with a message.
Because it's called To Each His Own, like faith, hope, and charity, okay? All right.
Produced by Van McCoy. Yes, The Hustle. Van McCoy. This trio dropped To Each His Own on RCA in '75, reaching number 1 on the R&B charts and cracking the pop top 50.
To each his own.
The group's name alone promised something bigger, and the track delivered. A disco groove that still had soul depth and gospel roots, tight harmonies, uplifting lyrics, and strings that soared like Sunday morning praise. But the success was short-lived. Faith, Hope, and Charity disbanded just a few years later, with members moving into background vocals and solo projects. Still, when this track played, it felt like a declaration. Disco could uplift as well as dazzle. And if this was a groove with a conscience, our next track was pure neighborhood funk. Number 7, Shining Star by Ruby Winters, the country soul crossover we never saw coming.
I don't wanna be the one to say I'm gonna miss you.
Originally released in the UK before making waves stateside, Shining Star blended country ballad sensibilities with gospel-influenced soul. Ruby Winters, a Tennessee native, brought a heart-wrenching vocal that could raise chills in a sunlit room.
Don't wonder if you wanna come back.
It charted modestly on the R&B charts, but never cracked pop airwaves. Still, her delivery was unforgettable. Part Patsy Cline, part Gladys Knight. You can feel the ache in her voice like a letter written but never sent.
I'm ashamed for you to know how much I really love.
Winters never charted again, but Shining Star is the kind of track vinyl collectors dig out like treasure. Dusty, overlooked, and dripping with heart. If these classics from 1975 are bringing back memories, give this video a thumbs up. It helps us keep the soul alive. And stick around. We've still got 6 more timeless tracks to come. Number 6, The Agony and the Ecstasy by Smokey Robinson, the soft falsetto of heartbreak.
To someone else we know.
By '75, Smokey had left the Miracles and was carving out his solo path. The Agony and the Ecstasy was one of his first post-group standouts, layered, emotional, and intimate.
Like ours was never ever free.
It climbed to number 7 on the R&B chart but never crossed into top 40 pop territory, which is why it sometimes gets left off best of lists. It's a song of torn lovers, whispered betrayals, and falsetto confessions. Smokey floats over the arrangement like he's reading a diary he never meant to share.
You is extra.
this on, and you're back in your teenage bedroom, heartbroken but hopeful, scribbling lyrics on a notebook you'd never let anyone see. Smokey would go on to far bigger solo hits, but this was the seed. And speaking of bittersweet beginnings, number 5, I Can't Live a Dream by Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Blue-Eyed Soul takes a turn. Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons were far from new in '75, but this track marked a rare moment where their sound flirted with Philly soul. Released on Warner Bros., I Can't Live a Dream had smooth orchestrations, deep bass, and that signature valley falsetto floating over heartbreak lyrics. It was a top 10 adult contemporary hit, but barely registered on the R&B charts, making it a forgotten crossover oddity. Still, it belongs here. It was the kind of track that came on late in the night, somewhere between the Stylistics and Bread, on your local AM station. They wouldn't chart R&B again like this, but in this moment, they brushed the edge of soul velvet. If that was Blue-Eyed Longing, our next one is Pure Funky Fire. Number 4, Dance With Me by Rufus featuring Chaka Khan, groove that wouldn't quit. Before Chaka went solo, she and Rufus were already setting dance floors ablaze. Dance With Me was a sleeper hit off Rufus' eyes that year, riding deep grooves and a bouncy bass line. It peaked at number 39 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 5 on the R&B chart, but often gets overshadowed by Tell Me Something Good.
That ain't right.
But make no mistake, this track thumps. Chaka's vocals are playful, teasing, commanding. You can feel the sweat and swagger of the club night as the synth stabs kick in. Though Rufus had other hits, this one stands as a one-off flavor, pure joy in motion. Next up, rare groove royalty that DJs still hunt for. Number 3, Supernatural Thing by Benny King, Return of a Legend.
Supernatural thing. Hey, hey.
Yes, that Benny King, Mr. Pocha, Stand By Me. In '75, he staged an unexpected comeback with Supernatural Thing.
Supernatural thing. Hey, hey.
A funky, falsetto-laced jam that hit number 1 on the R&B chart. Released on Atlantic, it showed a completely different side of King. Groovier, spacier, but still soulful. It may have been his only major hit in the '70s, but what a hit it was. You can almost see the lava lamps glowing in the shag carpet underfoot. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a reincarnation. King would ride this wave briefly, but Supernatural Thing became a staple of rare groove compilations and DJ crates for decades. But trust me, nothing will prepare you for the heartbreak coming at number 2. Number 2, Walk Away From Love by David Ruffin. The Temptation steps out.
Mr. David Ruffin.
David Ruffin's first big solo moment post-Temptations came with this bittersweet smash. Released in late 1975, it climbed to number 9 on the Hot 100 and number 1 on the R&B chart in early '76.
It's not that I don't love you.
Written by Charles Kipps and produced by Van McCoy, it was drenched in emotional weight. That falsetto stretch on Walk became an instant classic. But surprisingly, Ruffin would never top this success again on his own.
It's just a fear that builds within me.
It remained his solo peak, and perhaps the most emotionally raw moment of his entire catalog. You can hear the weariness, the pride, the pain, all in one breath. This was soul at its most grown. And now, for the one-hit wonder that defined a moment, then vanished. Number 1, Dynamite by Bazooka. Funk goes full cartoon. If you were around in '75, you remember this track. Bazooka, a studio group created by Tony Camillo, dropped Dynamite as a tongue-in-cheek funk explosion inspired by JJ from Good Times. The chant, Dynamite, was everywhere. It hit number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became an R&B party staple overnight. It was outrageous. It was brassy. It had cowbell. And then, Bazooka disappeared. But for one moment, this was the sound of the summer. Kids repeated it, dancers boogied to it, and every DJ spun it like gospel. It's the kind of song that doesn't just stick in your head. It takes over the room. A one-hit wonder? Yes. But unforgettable? Absolutely. From quiet storm whispers to disco explosions, 1975 gave us one-hit wonders that lit up the charts, then left just as fast. Thanks for joining us on this soul stroll. Subscribe to keep the groove alive and never miss our next stroll. Up next, the unforgettable soul hits of 1976. Click it, and let's keep the rhythm rolling. End screen points to 1976 R&B songs that still make us cry.